So, welcome to class. Welcome to Module 2 of RISE for Ladies in Difficult Marriages. We have abbreviated it to be RISE for LDM. So, whenever you want to talk in public about it, you know what we call it. You know what we call it, RISE for LDM. This is an initiative of personal reinvention, uh, coaching, community, and we look forward to the next couple of weeks being transformational for you. So last week, you know what we looked at? Last week we looked at what is what do we have as a family, my husband and I, what do we have together? And we said if you currently can't think of anything that you have together, maybe because the pain is overshadowing the joys, then it's fine. But that before class is over, we will still revisit that question and we'll be able to say what do we have together. But that in class we're starting with what do I personally have? We have looked at what we don't have, but what do I have? And then we went on to say, even to say, to list out what you have may be difficult because over the years you have been brainwashed into believing that maybe you don't have anything. That's for some of us here. And some of us have fought for the belief that I say I have something. I know I have something. Some of us have fought for it. So we have been categorized as stubborn, as willful, and as, not submissive. But that is fine. If, if, if the person that is supposed to be your best encourager is the one that is trying to pull you down, it's fine to say, you know what? Don't pull me down right now. If you can't support me, it's fine, but do not pull me down. And we also agreed that some of us need to go back into your journals. You need to recall and recollect that young child that used to dream a lot, the younger you who wanted to be a pilot, who wanted to be an engineer, who wanted to do big things and impact society and impact our world, and to say, okay, that's what I would have had, and to now say, can I still have it? And you know that nothing should be able to stop us. We looked at the analogy of the garden. We looked at a number of analogies. But let me start with the garden. If you can type for me the other analogies that we looked at, that would be nice so that I know that you remember what we learned in class. Well, so let me talk about the analogy of the garden. We looked at it and we said you are the chief gardener of your own garden. You are the chief gardener. The rake is in your hands. The tools are in your hands. You are the one that will say, should I plant this or should I not plant? And that in the instances when weeds have been planted in your garden, that it is okay to weed them out. And what we are doing in class is not just to cut the top of the weeds, but to go to the root of it and to weed them out. Because if you cut the top of it, it's just going to grow again. And I also mentioned that the the work that you need to do is not first external. So this is not, oh, let's go and confront your husband. Why is he doing this? The work is not first external. The work is first internal, where you're internalizing and saying, where am I currently? And where you're saying, where should I be? And am I ready to pay the price to be where I should be? And that if everything keeps changing on the inside, if everything keeps changing on the inside, there is nothing on the outside that can stop you. As long as you keep reinventing on the inside, you will get to a point where your outside has no choice but to agree with who you have become on the inside. So that we're going to focus first on transforming you from within, on changing the person that is within. Because when that person changes, then the external will have no choice but to adjust. Imagine a reptile or a snake that is, you know how they outgrow their skin. They outgrow their skin. So imagine one that looks at the skin that he currently has and says, I don't like this skin. I don't like this skin. And starts scratching its body against the rock. What's going to happen? It's going to injure itself. Thank you, happiness. We looked at the food analogy and we also looked at the uh, river analogy. Those were the three analogies that we looked at last week. If you're not in class, go and check it out. It's a good one. It's a really good one. So, if the snake, the reptile, decides too early to remove its skin, it's going to injure itself. But nature has designed it in such a way that the snake will shed its skin anyway. It is meant to shed its skin anyway. It could be annually, it could be quarterly, it could be every two years, but it's meant to happen. So if it continues to nurture itself, to eat right, to feed well, to do what reptiles do, the seasons are going to change and it is going to grow out of that skin anyway. And then have you seen when they want to grow out of the skin, they've grown a new one inside. They've actually grown a new skin inside. And the old one has now become like dead flesh. So it's dead skin. So by the time the reptile scratches its body against a rock or a stone, easily, it will just be able to crawl out of that skin. Crawl out of that skin because it has grown a new one. It is not exposed to the elements. It is able to continue to live its life. Another thing, another animal that I want us to look at tonight is the eagle. And they said all birds fly, but the eagles soar. Birds fly, but eagles soar. And what's the difference? The difference is that when an eagle is soaring, not flying, it spreads its wings and it's just moving with the current. So what is carrying it is the wind. The wind, and it's almost like people who surf waves. We've seen them. We've seen them on TV, or you've seen them on YouTube, or some of us have even tried it personally. Surfers, where they wait for the next big wave, then they climb on it with their surfboards, and the wave carries them. So it is the same thing that the eagle does with the wind. Where it finds the wind, it opens its wings and it's just being carried along. And what does that mean? It means that the speed is able to reach where it's going faster than another bird that is not, soaring. Because if a bird is not soaring, if it's flying, what's happening is that it's flapping its wings. It's flapping its wings. So it's exerting effort. It's putting in extra energy and it's not getting there faster. So, and that's what has been happening to some of us. We have been flapping our wings. And despite everything we've been confronted with, we have been trying to flap our wings and still survive and still fly. But what eagles also do is that when an eagle wants to soar, if there is a wind that is turbulent, it first of all flies up into the sky, further into the sky, over the wind. I hope this is making sense. When it flies over that wind, so it leaves the wind behind, it climbs higher on top of it, then it starts to soar. It starts to soar because above every turbulent wind, there's another calm part of the cloud. So it just keeps going higher until it finds the calm part of the cloud and then it starts to soar.
And that is what Rise is about, where we're not denying the circumstances that you're grappling with, but we're saying the work that we need to do is internal, and you have to rise above your circumstances, even though it is confronting you daily, every day. You're seeing the issues every day, it is ongoing, but that there's a place inside you that you must retreat to in order for you to soar, where you're not keeping malice, but you find, even if it's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours in a day, when you are able to say, come, me, myself, and I, let's have a meeting. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What are we going to do and how are we going to do it? You enter into your strategy room. How many people remember strategy room from last week? You enter into your strategy room and you begin to strategize your next course of action and how you're going to make life make sense despite the challenges of a difficult marriage. All right. So keep those two analogies. Today, we're going to spend the larger part of today talking about learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. Then we are going to take some minutes and look at what does your spouse want. Yes, the strategy room is where was our want. Thank you, money. So learned helplessness. Then we'll take a minute and look at what does your spouse want. And we are going to look at this one. I know that many of us don't want to look at it, but we will look at it. Then you will look at what do you want, and we are out of here. So again, you know what the course is about. I won't spend time on introductions. I need the link to the Telegram group. Okay. Thank you, Chine. Somebody's going to post it. Okay. Learned helplessness. What is it? How does it happen? And how to overcome it. The concept of learned helplessness was an innovation in psychology. And it simply means that a person, it's just the words as it is, that's what it means, that a person can learn helplessness. A person can learn helplessness. One of the things that I hope to share with us in class are stories of ladies who learned helplessness in their marriages and where they ended up. There is a documentary on Netflix. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't at the moment. But it was about this guy who had married his wife. They were both quite young, but she was much more younger. She was maybe an administrator when they met, but this guy was a stockbroker or something. He worked in the capital market. Now, after they got married, of course, she started to stay at home to take care of the children while the husband went out and worked. And then his business was doing so well, he started to become an investor. If anybody remembers the title of it as I'm sharing, please, you can tell us in the chat. He started to take investments and to promise people huge interest on their money. So a lot of people, there's something millionaire or something. A lot of people put money in his business. And his wife, she was just enjoying blissful ignorance and spending money. They bought yachts, they bought houses, they lived in a penthouse. We had people, putting in their life savings, their retirement funds. People were putting money in it. There were a number of people that arose and said, this can't be, this is not adding up. But it was so powerful that he was even able to buy the Wall Street, the Wall Street of his time, to buy them and to keep them quiet. So even though his calculations were not making sense, like how can you say you're making this kind of money and you're giving this people this kind of interest? He was still appealing to the greedy people, so they were putting in they were putting in their money. And then of course eventually, stuff eats the roof. and he was found out. He was found out. He had been doing a Ponzi scheme, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So as people are dropping money, he's using their money to pay others as interest. And, the entire crazy, you know how it is. Now, where are we going? His wife, by the time they were interviewing her, she didn't know anything about it. She didn't even understand what it was exactly that he did for a living. His two boys, his two children had become men and they worked with him. So when the company went down and, all of America was saying, oh, we lost our life savings because of this guy, we're homeless because of these guys, he bounced back on his two sons. He bounced back on his wife. He was jailed. She didn't have anything to her name. Oh, she had stuff to her name, but it was reclaimed. She had stuff to her name, it was reclaimed. The boys, one of them committed suicide. The second one developed some life-threatening illness, and he also died within a year of the boys died within a year of each other. The guy, they tried to check him out in prison to see if he understood what he did now. He was still sounding very narcissist. So his wife started living in her car. She was living in her car. Somebody that had like $70 million to her name when things were still good. Eventually, as they were ending that documentary, I looked at it and I was like, how did this woman get here? How did she get here? Now she's lost her two sons. She's lost her husband. She doesn't even have anything to her name. Homeless, sleeping in car. Eventually, she lived with one of the former wives, an ex-wife of one of the children. And we can go on and on sharing different stories of how women learn helplessness. That a person can be, a person can be a lawyer or even a doctor. A person can be all of that. The best students in class in university, and they can get married and suddenly become like helpless. Like you're not asking the right questions. You're not
own. How does that thing happen? We're going to look at it today. So many stories coming to my mind, but let's stay on course. Let's stay on course. I will also send, there will be videos. We will have movie nights where we're either watching together or everybody goes to watch this. Then we come back and you share your learnings. And we'll even start with this one. You come back and share your learnings and how, what the woman could have done better. So learned helplessness was developed in psychology, and an experiment was carried out on dogs first. And that's why you see a picture of a dog. They had a number of dogs placed in cage. Yes, thank you, Omar. Bernie Madoff, that's his name. Everybody should watch it. Okay, disclaimer, you may not enjoy it as much as I've painted it to be, but because I'm in the line of fraud investigation, it also had deeper meanings for me. But you will learn the things we talked about. So an experiment was carried out on dogs. They put a number of dogs in a cage. Then they attached shocks, what Nigerians call shocks, electrical currents that shocked the dogs at intervals. They connected it to the cages. Now there were two cages. The first cage, the dogs in it could not control when and how the shocks came. They would just be in their cage. The shock would just be administered. They're shocked. After a few minutes, they're shocked. Then the second group, they put them in a cage too. They administered the shock, but they put a button that if the dogs pressed that button, then they will not, the shock will stop immediately. So as the shock is coming, if you press the button, the shock stops. They left them there for for a period. Then they brought out all of them and put them in a bigger cage together. Now, in that bigger cage, they placed some, on one side of the cage, the shocks were administered. On the other side of the cage, the shocks were not administered. The other side of the cage did not have any electrical current that could shock anything. So they started to administer, all of the dogs were initially on the part of the cage where there was shock. But they put like a fence that the dogs could jump over in between the two parts of the cage. Then they started to administer the shock. What they discovered was that for the dogs that had control, that had access to the button, every time the shock was administered, because they had been in a cage before and they knew that there's something I used to be able to do to control this shock, they started to look for the button. And then they discovered by jumping to the other side that they can avoid the pain. So they jumped to the other side where there was no shocks, where there was no pain. But the other set of dogs that did not have any control over the pain, even though they saw that the other dogs had jumped to the other side of the cage, they stayed behind in that corner where the shock was being administered. They had resigned themselves to the fact that, thank you, the monster of Wall Street. Hey, thank you. That's it. So they had resigned themselves to the idea that this pain cannot be controlled. It cannot be avoided. I cannot ditch the pain, so I have to endure it. So eventually, water found its level. The dogs that could control the pain, because they were programmed to control it, they were controlling it. The ones that couldn't control it, they stayed there, enduring the pain and whimpering. That's dogs. Years later, they conducted a similar experience on human beings. And in this experience, they gave them like a puzzle, for lack of a better word. They gave them like a mathematical equation and a puzzle. So two sets of people, they gave them mathematical equations to solve. The first set, they knew that they could not solve it. They gave them equations that were unsolvable. Like, you can't even solve it. Be battling with it. Then the second set, they gave them equations that it will take their time, but they will solve it. Eventually, they checked out the results. The people who couldn't solve their own, of course, they didn't know that it was because it was unsolvable. They thought it was because they were not good enough to solve it. They didn't have answers. They were not smart enough to solve those equations. So, but the ones who were given equations that were solvable solved them, and that grew their belief in themselves that they could solve anything, that they could solve tough equations. So now, learned helplessness. The group of people who thought they were not good enough to solve equations had learned helplessness, while the other group had learned that they were good enough, they can do anything, they can solve anything. The one that blows my mind is the same two sets of people. They now switched them and brought puzzles this time around, a different set of puzzles. The people who were given unsolvable equations, were given solvable puzzles. Guess what? They could not solve it, because their first experiment, their first experience had, tampered with their minds and convinced them that they were not good enough. So even though what was in front of them now was solvable, they could not solve it, because now they believe they can solve it. Then the other set of people were given unsolvable equations, but because they had already been programmed to think that you are the best of the best, if you solved this hard equation, then you are the 1% of the 1%. Your intelligence quotient is high up there. So even when they were given unsolvable puzzles, they were able to solve them. They were not able to solve them because they were unsolvable, but they did not attribute it to themselves. They didn't take it personal and say it's because I'm not good enough. That's why I couldn't solve this thing. They said, oh, there may be other reasons why these are unsolvable, but they didn't personalize it. They didn't sit in that cage, whimpering and enduring the pain and thinking there is nothing I can do about it. Okay? And where are we going? Many of us have learned helplessness. If you put your mind back, this is not how you were before. Before, you probably could, hustle. You probably were, all over the place, doing something for yourself, making a name for yourself in your own little way. Or even if, for some of us, there's different sets of people in the room, so I have to be really careful. For some of us, right out of school, you got married. Some of us didn't even go to school so that we could get married. And so what has happened is that you didn't even get to discover your own genius. You didn't even get to discover your own genius before you entered into a situation that gave you unsolvable puzzle that now made you believe that you didn't have what it takes to solve puzzles. But within every one of us, there is what it takes to move from one level to the other, what it takes to look at what life has handed us as lime, as lemon, and to make lemonade out of it. It is within. You will find again that from week to week, there are some things I will keep repeating. And it is because you were programmed this way. So if we're going to reprogram you, there are things that you have to hear again and again and again and again. I have recordings from some of my classes that I attended. I have coaches from some of my classes that I attended. I have recordings from them that I'm not lying to you. I've listened to at least 50 times. I've listened to at least even 100 times. Where I tell myself, I had an entire, maybe about a year, where I had to rebuild. So this was not even about showing up to the public. It's about rebuilding from within. So I would say to myself, and it wasn't even necessarily domestic issues that put me there. So for some of us, it's not even your husband that is the cause of, the pain that you feel and the setback that you're experiencing. Sometimes it's as bad as having a sick child, a sick relative to take care of. It cripples, you know and sometimes that's where the anger towards the husband comes in, where you don't feel supported, where you don't feel supported. That's the word. And so, where was I? Some of us are going to have to re-listen to these recordings again and again and again. So I would tell myself this month I'm re-listening to the entire, maybe 6 modules from my coaching sessions with my coach. Or I will say to myself, this week I'm replaying all of our one-on-one sessions. So every morning I will wake up and I will do one model. Then the next day, another model. Then when I've gone through everything, I come back again to the first model. I'm telling you, every time you re-listen to it, you will hear something afresh. You'll be like, oh, so that's why I was behaving that way. Oh, so I learned helplessness. At what point did I start learning helplessness? It's not something that we can unpack in class, where I can say, okay, on mute, tell me when you actually started to learn helplessness. But as I talk, you yourself, you will start to remember the moments when you actually started learning helplessness. Some people, they knew how to change car tires. You knew how to change car tires before you got married. Now you got married, you got stuck on the road. Your car stopped working. You're saying, "Oh, if my husband was responsible, I could call him and he will be here to help me." But you used to change tires yourself now. Remember how we said last week that being on your own is not necessarily a good thing and it's not necessarily a bad thing. For people that have it, it's great for them. As in for people that have support, it's great for them, and that's what it's supposed to be. Marriage is supposed to be a partnership, a friendship, and a support system. But that the reality is that some of us don't have it. And if you don't have it, then don't call it good or bad. Just say it is what it is. What do I need to do to support myself? So many of us have to move from the place of learned helplessness to becoming helpful to yourself again. Becoming helpful to yourself again. Some of the symptoms and side effects of learned helplessness is depression. And it's surprising because sometimes the thing we call depression and the symptoms of depression that we verbalize, they're not even the real symptoms. So somebody will say, "Oh, I was so depressed. I couldn't even take my bath. I couldn't even go for, the outings I'm supposed to go for." Some people will say they are depressed. They have not combed their hair in 3 or 4 weeks. I hope you're not in class. And if you are, we forgive you from today. There are things that you have to tell yourself, I'm doing it for me. So you cannot carry the entire problems of the world on your face, on your body. You cannot. I know that it is tempting to do that, but you cannot do that because if you do that, you're learning helplessness. You're saying, I'm stuck in this place and there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just going to sit there and, life will just pass me by. But we're saying, no, you can rise. Fine, no. People have said it, and I don't believe it 100%. People have said that if you are in a difficult marriage or you're married to someone that, is not supportive, that you may not be able to 100% realize, what's it called? Your purpose, what you're created for. But what I think they're doing is comparing it with people who have supportive spouses. What I know is that even if you don't set out to achieve 100%, you can set out and say, let me start with 10%. Let me start with 5%. Let me start with 20%. What then happens is that as you try to be faithful in that 5%, to show up in that 5% and to do it excellently because it's helping you will see that the room will be made for 20%. More doors will open for 40%, for 50%, and before you know it, you will actually have 100%. So it may take a longer time than someone who has support system, but you too, you will achieve what you set out to achieve. I hope this is helping. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So you must never believe that there is nothing you can do about your circumstances. You must never believe that you are so stuck where you are that there is no hope for you. You must be able to say, where is the button that I must press to stop this pain? And the button is first in your mind, where you zone out somebody else because they currently are not helping you. And you're not fighting them. You love them. You are still taking care of them. But because the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself, not more than yourself. So I'm going to love this person to the extent that it doesn't destroy me. But if the place where it starts to destroy me, I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to shut it off until the person learns otherwise. So someone says one of the things she told herself when the problem started was that marriage can't be the 100% of one's life. There are other areas to build and to work on. So this is strong woman mentality, where a person says, look, there are still children's school fees to be paid. There's still my job to focus on. There's still my, the things that give me joy, other things that give me joy. Before you got married, there were other things that gave you joy now. So it's time to refresh and to start on those other things that give you joy. The good thing is that these days you can be inside your room and people all over the world can be interacting with you. So we're not even at that point of Magi, they don't go out, don't come in, don't do this, don't do that. We're not at that point anymore. Asha said that even the jailer himself, even the warden, the jailer, is a prisoner. So if someone says I will not do anything again in my life, I must be watching this woman to make sure that she doesn't go out, she doesn't have friends, then he too will not have time to do anything else now. But that because that is nearly impossible, there will be times when he needs to go out, where he needs to do A, B, C, D. Where he needs to do A, B, C, D. You find those times and you use it to do your own A, B, C, D. What if you can't even do the things that give you joy because it causes insults? We're saying maybe you're doing them where they are sin and where they're causing insults. Some of us, you want to dance on Instagram, you want to help people on Instagram or on YouTube. We are going to first have to start with a like a different account name. You're going to first have to start with a nickname so that nobody knows it is you and you're just sharing what you want to share and finding joy. I like going out to see movies, but I had to stop because it doesn't. Started watching. Thank you. That's a solution. You start watching your movies at home. You start for starters. As you begin to, so what happens is that women go into marriages not as partners, but as uh being, God, what's the word for this? It's not even as somebody being supported. We enter marriage as though we're not bringing any value with us. So it's almost like, I'm so lucky that he married me. I'm so fortunate that he married me. Hello, he is also fortunate that I married him. But because you don't see your own genius, or truthfully, some of us have not explored our genius. Even you have not explored to say, what do I carry? Yeah. You're right, blessing. But we make lemonade out of lemons. She's saying marriage isn't in favor of women as honestly it is over. Yes, but guess what? There are marriages that are in favor of women. There are some women that these things we're talking about now, they will say, don't mind them, they are just disgruntled. Me, I'm enjoying marriage. Oh. My husband is taking care of me. If he say I should sit, I will sit because where am I going now? He's taking care of me now. They won't even understand what we're talking about. But you and I, we know what we're talking about. It is overwhelming. It is tilted against women. But those are choices that you made before. Those are choices that you made to go into a marriage not like an equal partner, but like a thing. But like a thing. Let's use the word that Blessing used. She said, are we slaves and toys? If you went into that marriage like a slave or a toy, you cannot. It is unfair to suddenly immediately start saying, I'm not a thing, no, I'm not a toy. I'm a full human being with faculty, with reasoning. I'm a full human being. I have my needs, I have my wants. No, you now have to even remind yourself that I am a full human being. No. I am actually, you have to now discover your capabilities and say, what am I bringing on board this marriage? What did I bring on board this marriage? What did I bring? What can I bring now to be an equal partner? What can I currently bring to be an equal partner? And these things we're saying, for some people, it's even the other way around. Where they're the ones that have brought everything, or guy is not bringing anything. But she was coerced into marrying him. That men are scarce. Just marry this one. You will take care of him now. You will measure up. And now she's finding herself to be the breadwinner. She's looking older than her husband. He's still irresponsible. That is also a thing. That is also a thing. So it is in saying, if I'm being looked at as a toy or a thing right now, there must be some decisions that I took that, that brought this perception. I have to change the perception that this person has of me. And so, what will I start to do? And it is not even necessarily because of this person that I'm changing the perception. It is because I'm also now realizing that I was not created to be a thing. I'm meant to be a full grown person. Some of us are going to have to go and learn a trade again, even though you have uh, you know, your certificate from university. You're going to have to go and learn something, even if it's how to make beads, how to make soap, how to do this, how to do that. Some of us are going to go and have to go and learn how to become business analysts, and some of us are going to have to learn it when Oga has gone to work or when he has gone out with his boys, because he must not even know that you are trying to better yourself, but that you will learn it because you believe that your circumstances are going to change for good. Because you're not learning it, it means that you have resigned to status quo and saying nothing can change. Let me just be learning helplessness in this corner of the cage where I am at. Yeah. Some of us, you already have value, but you are not being allowed to express your value. Okay, so Queen, I see. Whoa, my battery is low. I need to charge this laptop. So, Queen, I see your hand, but again, like I said when we started class, the time when I will ask everyone to ask questions is before class, while we're starting class. I said it last week. This evening, I invited anyone that had comments, questions, and all of that to raise their hands and talk. So once I start teaching, I will not take comments and questions. So we will have another opportunity next week to do that. Give me a second. Let me just charge this laptop. Oh, Daisy, I'm loving that. I learned fashion when he goes to work. Great job, Mama. Great job. That's exactly what it is about. Alrighty. Who else? Who else learned something?
It's helping you be better without his not. I try to distinguish between selfishness and self-preservation, where people will call it selfishness, but you know it's self-preservation because you know if you don't do it, you're dying a slow death. I do fabrics. I love that. I love that. And you do know that if things were different, we won't be advising ourselves this way. Because as we talk now, I'm remembering, instances that have come into the limelight where people were saying, oh, she had an entire building and she did not tell her husband. And she bought, she's even the landlady, but he didn't know he was paying rent to her. There were things like that. And we're not saying that we're going to become unruly, unsubmissive women, but we're saying that right now we see how things are, and we know that if we don't take some steps, we're going to suffer for it eventually, and the entire family is going to suffer for it. So that it is fine to take some steps. The other side of it, where you now make sure that you are not descending into uh, an endless pit of I'm going to show him pepper, is when we now say, Lord, you see my heart, you see why I'm doing this. Keep love in my heart for this guy. Change him. So you are still praying for him. And you are still, every time you see people who coach men, and help them be better. You're still sending those kind of things to him and believing God that it will change. But that if you have to have a different savings so that when he can't pay rent, we all won't be outside under the sun, homeless, then one has to do what one has to do. And we are also saying that some of us have learned helplessness, and it is time to unlearn and not feel so helpless again, because you were not created helpless. I've been in a season of life where willingly I chose and I decided to stay back at home and take care of my children. But after some time, I knew that, oh, no, this was a wrong move. What am I going to do? And I started to pray and to say, God, what will I do? And he made me do an exercise like, what do you currently have? I started to write a list. What do I have? I don't have money. I know that I have knowledge, but I'm not ready to go back to paid employment because of my children. I don't have access to running a business at the moment because of these decisions that I've taken. What do I have? What do I have? Exactly. Exactly. By the time he knows, let me tell you, I love this thing you wrote. Let me read it first. She said, I believe he will know. But the plan is that by the time he knows, I would have gotten a balance that he will not have an option down to support by the time he gets to know. The funny thing is that by the time he's even knowing, sometimes is you calling a meeting. You know, we talked about a meeting last week again, where I'm saying you will now call a meeting and you are stylishly saying, I came into this marriage as a thing, but I have developed myself. I have the capacity to be a person and a partner. If you want, we can partner together. If you don't want, I will partner with myself to make a great life for myself until you are ready to partner with me. All right? So he will know eventually. But by the time he knows, so some people dare not leave their husbands now. Some people that want to leave, maybe he's beating you up, he has given you communicable disease, you want to leave, you dare not, because you don't have nothing, you don't have a cover. You don't even, he has brainwashed you into believing that there's nothing that you can offer the world. So you have to first even build yourself and say, what do I have to offer the world? The funny thing is that the moment that you are also building yourself, you're building your mental capacity, you're showing up in the world, you're looking good for yourself. You're just turning up. For some women, things are going to change. This difficult man will suddenly become less difficult because look at his wife glowing, looking beautiful. And I'm not saying it's everybody, because I know that there's some people that you are beautiful already and you take good care of yourself. But there's just something, this guy is not saying it. I'm talking about some of us are here that your husband has actually complained that you're not taking care of yourself. Your cornrows, everything has matted together. Your braids are smelling, your wigs are smelling, your armpit is smelling. I don't know. Maybe they're not here. Maybe we should not talk about this. But we have to talk about it just in case there's someone that is behaving in that way. And I was talking about depression and the signs of depression. Sometimes it's not just that feeling of heaviness in your mind that incapacitates you from doing anything. It is also how you chose to look. You're going to drop the children off at school. You're looking funny. You're looking rough. You're not looking fine. You're not looking beautiful. When last did you spray your cologne, your roll-on? When last? And I know it's depression that drove you to this place, but we're saying that do it for yourself. Get out of this depression for yourself. When you do it for yourself, he's going to like it. And that may be the end to some difficulties in some people's marriage. That is just the truth. Men are visual. Sometimes what they see is able to sway how they act. It's how they were created. It's how they are. So for some people, hear me? See me. Let me change where this is blocked.
Oh, apologies, my sisters. I'm sorry, I disconnected the microphone. Can you hear me now? Please say yes. Oh God. Thank you. The people that are sitting on that table, you caused that one. You didn't want me to go there. And I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there. You know what this guy likes now. And the thing with guys is that if he comes back, maybe he comes back from work, you're looking funny. Oh, Mama Korani. He will just be edgy, he will just be touchy, he will just be cranky. And you know that you are the one causing it, but you are too deep inside this depression thing that you think you have or that you actually have to give a damn. And so learned helplessness has thrown some people into depression. Depression has made them to act in a way or to look in a way that their husbands don't like. Their husbands are now angry and almost going into depression themselves. And that is the root of some of the difficulties that some of us are going through. And we're saying that you have to learn being helpful to yourself. So the moment you even stop blaming somebody else for where you are at and saying, if he did this, I wouldn't be here. If he did that, I wouldn't be here. Let's start with you. If you did A, B, C, D, will you be where you are? So if I didn't do it and I found myself here, then I can decide to do it so that I can find myself in a different place. So I put the power back in my own hands, because if the power is with me, then I can actually start to do something about it. And he may have contributed, he may have played a huge part in where you are. But we're saying that it is also because you gave the power to him. And it is because society taught you to give the power to him. Society told you, be submissive to your husband. Don't do this, don't do that. That's what society will tell you. But we should know better that, yes, I will honor you. Yes, I will submit to you. Yes, I will respect you. But I'm also created as a helpmate. So if I see you taking a decision that is going to affect our family, I should be able to bring it forward and to say, I don't agree with this and I don't think we should do this. But guess what? Oga is the one bringing every cover to the table. So how can you say you have an opinion? How can you say you have an opinion? So how can you say you have an opinion if he's the one bringing everything? And let me also mention that sometimes it's not even just money. I've had instances when, at least twice in the early years of my marriage, where I would try to sort of maybe, okay, I want to cook your food. And my husband would say, come and sit down. I need to have a conversation with you on this thing. So that thing helped me to realize that as much as And thankfully, I don't even really love cooking. I cook well, but I don't love cooking. I realized that as much as this guy enjoys eating my food, there is something else that he looks forward to in having me as his partner, and it is my brain. He loves to talk through things. So he wants to have conversation. And the few times that I've tried to see what does he prefer, conversation or food, he will say, leave food. Leave food. Let's talk about this thing. As I don't enjoy cooking at all. I cook well when I have to, I do, but honestly, it can be outsourced. So you must first even say, what are the things that this guy loves? What are the things that this guy loves about me? What are the values that I can bring to this particular table that is my home? And for some of us, again, it is his wife looking beautiful. Because every guy takes pride in his wife being beautiful, except if he has signed off in his mind, he has signed off. But something caused him to sign off. You won his heart before now. You can win it again. And this time you are not even doing it because you want to win his heart. You want to win your own heart. You want to look in the mirror and say, why I fine like this now? Oh no. God the creator. See me now. You must get to that point. When you appreciate yourself, then he will appreciate. And if he doesn't appreciate, you don't feel bad because anyway, you did it to appreciate yourself and to get yourself out of learned helplessness. So, what are some of the things that we wear around the house? We're still talking to people on this particular table. What do you wear around the house? Eh? What do you How do you show up when friends are coming over or you guys are going over to friends' house? Can you say for a fact that you know what this guy really wants his wife to look like? How he wants you to dress, the kind of hair he wants you to carry. What does he really want? Can you say you want it? You know it. That's the first question. Do you know it? The second question is, are those things that you are willing to do? If you're not willing to do them, maybe because he has hurt you, are you willing to do them for yourself because they are actually nice to have things? Because they are good to have and they will actually increase your value. So maybe you're going to drop the children off at school, you spray your perfume, you use nice wigs, you dress well. Maybe you will make friends that you can market your products to among the other parents in school. What are the ways that you are self-sabotaging because you want him to feel bad, but you are actually also sabotaging yourself? How about you do it for yourself? How about you learn the skill for yourself? How about you go back to school? How about you go back to paid employment? Yes, I choose to happy. I choose to be happy. I choose happiness. How about you choose happiness for yourself? How about it? Some of us, the guy does not even stay at home. Maybe he's at home for 2 hours in the day, but those 2 hours are so caustic that they affect the remaining 22 hours. What happened to you deciding that it is only those 2 hours that this house will be hot to? The moment this guy steps out of the house, I play my worship song, I'm dancing. I play my praise song, Alujo, serious Alujo, I'm dancing and I'm enjoying myself in the Lord. How about that? Choices, choices, choices. The weight that you want to give to somebody else's opinion in your life based on where they are in their own journey, based on their understanding of you, and based on how much they want to invest in you. If someone is not trying to invest in you, why are you investing 24 hours in what they think and what they say? Again, if everything they are saying agrees with what God has said, then we collect it 100%. But if it is not in line with what God has said about me, I take it, I shake it, I drop it. It's not my own. When you are ready to talk about the one that God said, then you have my full attention because the one God said is going to build me. Unfortunately, some of us, the things that you even think God said, you have to go back to your Bible and check that God actually said it. What do you do if you don't know how to be happy? I love this. I love this. Can you tell me? Somebody is saying, what do you do if you don't know how to be happy? And my question to you now will be, do you remember a season of life when you have ever been happy? Either before you got married or when you were in university, when you were in secondary school, when you were back home with your parents and your siblings. Has there been a time at all when you have been happy? What were the things that made you happy then? Can some of us type it into the chats for me? What were the things that made you happy then? This feeling of I don't know how to be happy is also because you have built your entire life around one person to support them and to make them happy, forgetting that you yourself, you are a full human being who should also be happy. And some people have this issue because their husbands are growing. Let me tell you, even Michelle Obama said it. I will look for that quote and I will send it into the group. There's no way as a woman, you have a career that is thriving, your husband has a career that is thriving. The moment you start building a home, you are the one taking care of the children. Your own career will have to suffer a little. And for some people, it's a lot. What if you're being happy or ignoring them politely angers them? That's because you're trying to be happy when they're there. When they've gone now, do your happy. I started being happy when I got a good job and I had a place to beautiful Bironke. You had a place to go to every morning and come back home in the evening. That's when she started being happy. You must find what makes you happy. Some of us are going to still be full housewives. Some of us are going to have to go and look for a job just like a bee. Some of us are going to still say, I just want to take care of my children. That's my purpose. That's my calling. And it makes me happy. And it doesn't make you less of a person, but that you must find your happiness in the thing that you chose. You must find your happiness. I'm not saying suppress your happiness because of him. I'm saying be wise about it. Somebody is cranky, is unhappy. First of all, what was the cause of his unhappiness? If we know that, and that's why, again, I need you guys to unmute and tell me some of the issues that are going on so that we won't generalize. But somebody is unhappy, the house is hot, is cranky. Then you now put on music and start dancing. He's going to say, "Oh, you're spiting me. You're not paying attention to my feelings. I'm unhappy, so I don't want you to be happy." And honestly, it's going to be like you're a funny person. But we're saying, are you together 24 hours in a day? The most difficult time for some people was during the COVID session. But COVID is mostly, at least we outside now. We're outside now. Whether COVID is gone or not is another issue. But we're outside now. So are you still together 24/7? And if you are not, the hours that you are not together, soak up your happiness. It's like charging the battery of your phone so that that charge that you have charged it, you will use it for the next 24 hours when it's around. Then when it's gone again, you charge for 1 hour, 2 hours, do the things that bring you happiness. Then you go again. The problem that I foresee with that is some of the things that some people feel bring them happiness. They're actually they are counterproductive. So someone cannot come here and tell me, oh, being on Instagram makes me happy. When you're on Instagram, you know the same way that you will not open the door of your house and say, everybody come in, tout, prostitute, everybody just come in, come in, come in, come in, tell me your thoughts. You won't do that to your real house in real life. But on Instagram, everybody that you are following, they're dumping their thoughts, their ideas on you, and you are absorbing it and you are taking it in. So that's counterproductive. So again, we even have to examine what are the things that make me happy and why do they make me happy. Some people, they use Instagram, they use Facebook, they use YouTube like anesthetic, like pain numbing drugs. Because at least when you are looking at other people's life and their mess ups, you won't have to think about your own life. But if you say to me during my time of being happy and trying to make myself happy, I'm praying with healing of soul wounds, for instance, or I'm with my journal. One of the books that we're suggesting and recommending to you is my journal, my bullet journal. And it is because I am totally crazy about journaling. I believe that it changes everything. In your journal, you can be truthful to yourself. Like, even if you are lying to everybody and you're saying, oh, my life is great, you can be truthful to yourself and say, if I can only change this part, I know that my life will be great. Then, and that's how journaling is different from diarying, where you are now able to say, so because I know that if I change ABCD, I can have a greater life. I would change ABCD, and this is my game plan towards it. You're journaling. You're coming back tomorrow and saying, let's focus on number one for this entire month. So, number one, learn how to crochet. So, I start learning, I start learning, I start learning. Or maybe our guy is saying by force we must travel out. You know that if you travel out, you have to be waiting for him to change naira to dollar so that he can send it to you. You are like, I need to do something. How about you go and learn how to braid hair? Now, I heard, and you people abroad, you can confirm for us. I heard the hairdressers make a fortune abroad that when they're making braids and all of that. So how are you adding to yourself? What makes you happy? And so let me see if the person who says, I don't even know what makes me happy again. Let me see if they've answered when I detached emotionally. YT, I agree with you. She said she started being intentionally happy when she detached emotionally. It is self abuse not to detach emotionally in such an instance. And it takes wisdom and it takes help from God to know the extent to which you detach. Because again, if you detach fully, if you detach everything, when He starts changing, and we're praying that He will change, it will now be difficult to attach again. So that is why we also pray about these things. That is why we seek healing and not a covering up of the wounds. That's why you are able to still have great sex. There are people that will say every other thing is a mess, but currently we are still enjoying great sex. And that's a good place to start with because at least that still connects us. But the moment every other thing is on a downhill, and then you start looking funny, you are not attractive again, even you are not thinking about sex again, there's a problem because even that one now is not connecting us again. Aha. So don't suppress your happiness because of man. But if he's unhappy, and I like that question, let's come to it again in the next slide. Someone says she believes there's nothing a wife can do right if she's married to a narcissist or someone with mental health or personality. I agree with you. If someone has mental health or personality disorder issues, narcissism, they actually need help. They actually need help. So again, while you're trying to get help for them, how are you preserving your own sanity and peace of mind? I'm realizing every day that everyone is tag narcissist. We need to be careful with that tag. Thank you. I love that. So have they been diagnosed as narcissists? Have they been diagnosed with multiple personality disorder? But again, you are the one living in the house with them, so we can't say, "Oh, are you sure?" You know what you are seeing. But how are you preserving your own state of mind, mental state? How are you making sure that the people who they actually listen to can convince them to go for a diagnosis so that if there are drugs that they can use, if there are medications, if there's therapy that they can submit to that will help them, we can get them the help that they need. Yeah. Thank you. So someone says for 10 years she has been supporting his dreams. That's why she's still thinking of what can make her happy. I need you to zoom your mind beyond the 10 years. Before those 10 years, what were the things that made you happy? We are digging deep. That's why we are here. So please help us continue to search. And you other people on the call can also give us suggestions and help. Let's help her unravel this. I started learning handwork, going out of the house, meeting people. What was keeping me alive? I said now he says I'm spending too much time there and he's asking me to stop. Asking you to stop. Mm. So stop completely or reduce it. So if he says you're spending too much time, can you come to a bargain and say, I know I don't want to stop completely. In fact, if I'm going out 7 days a week, I'm fine with it. But if it's a worry for you, can we do 4 days for now? And then you find the handwork you're learning, you find someone that is able to teach it on YouTube, so that on the days you're not going out, you're still learning. Because again, you want to make sure that you're not using going out as a crutch. And meeting people, yes, it's nice, we're meeting people, that's great, we're learning handwork. What is the goal for the handwork? What is the period that we must learn it for? Is it 1 year? When will you know that you are ready to start your own business doing this handwork you're learning? So can we focus on that? Okay, can we go out and learn that 3 4 days in a week and do online for the rest of the day? Would that bring peace in the home for now? When you now become the handwork specialist and they're sending you letter from America to come and speak at a convention for people who are learning your type of handwork, is it going to be able to stop you? So this is an example of growing so much within that your external will have to adjust. Right now, you may not be able to go to his parents or your pastors or anybody and complain, oh, he says I should not go out. Fine. But when you now come into so much prominence that everybody knows you and they want you because of the handwork that you are perfect in, it will be unreasonable for you to have an invitation letter to speak in Paris to teach fashion designers, and somebody's son is saying, "Don't go, don't go where." Okay, let's see what your parents' opinion are. Let's see what my parents' opinion are. At that point, even you will not be the one standing up for yourself. It is other people that will be saying, let her go. It's your surname she's bearing now. She's bringing glory to this house. Let her go. So that is it. That is how this works. So learned helplessness must be overcome. You must overcome. And let's walk a mile in his shoes. What does he really want? We started to talk about this one where we said, what does he want? He wants a beautiful wife. Is it too much for him to ask for? But there are some men that are asking for too much. He wants to control you. He wants to dominate you. He wants to suppress you. So this is an assignment again. It's not something we can completely unravel in class, but everybody is going to have to go with it and go and work on it and ask, what does my husband really want? What does this guy really want from me? What will make him happy? Will it make him happy if I'm just like a mouse in the house? Nobody sees me. You don't speak, you don't talk unless you are spoken to. Then you now ask yourself, am I ready to actually live that way? And if I'm not ready to live that way, then we are going to have to keep, dragging it until we find something that works for both of us. And another reason why I said let's talk about what he wants is because ah we look at, and I mentioned this briefly last week too. We look at this man and we think, oh, he's got everything together. He's got his act together. He's the head of this house, so he should know what he's doing. The truth is that some of them are also just winging it. Some of us are mates with our spouses. Some of us are maybe just a year younger or 2 years younger. Some of us are even older than them. But you think because he's male, he's supposed to know everything and he's supposed to get his act together. And some of us, we know where he's coming from in terms of the family he grew up in, the challenges that he had growing up. But somehow you just expected that because he became daddy somebody or Mr. Somebody, he suddenly gotten his act together. Again, society has not helped in this regard because society expects them to have it all together. So rather than confess that they don't have it together, they wing it. They do bold face. They frown. They pretend like they have it together. Yet some of them are dying inside and needing help too. And I know it's difficult, especially if you are currently being abused emotionally or otherwise. to look at that person and say, this one, are you sure this one actually needs help? He may need help. So I want you to type for me in the chat some of the issues that you know that your husband had while growing up. What are some of the issues that he had while growing up? Did he grow up around poverty? Was he abused as a child? Was he expected to be perfect? Did he have parents who wanted perfection from him so that they put him under so much pressure? Is he an only son? So his mom is tied to him and she's not willing to let go for any woman. What are some of those issues? Are we still in class? It's quite quiet in here. Tell me, tell me, tell me. What are some of those things? What are some of those things that you know that he experienced? Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. So someone says he grew up as a first son, is not used to being challenged. He's used to being the one in charge, giving rules, giving directives, leading. Can you see that you have a sister inside here? Another firstborn. Feels responsible for everyone. Feels responsible, stepping into daddy's shoes. Even before he was old enough to step into it. He doesn't know how to partner with someone because he's used to giving the directives, leading, and everybody just obeying. Aha. See, another person says difficult because he had a difficult father who was very strict and showed no love and empathy. Huh? Exactly. What I need us to learn from this and keep them coming. This first son issue is a lot. Let's keep them coming. I'm glad that we're having this conversation. First son, only son of the mother. So do you imagine, you can imagine how long ago the mother would have been saying, you are the one you can't know, lower me. You are the only one I have. Oh. You're the only one. Oh. Because she too, she's like, what will I do if he marries a wife who is going to take him away from me, who is going to poison his mind against me? And if she's manipulative, then she will poison his mind against you before you get a chance to do to do same. Say we're all women now. You know how this thing works for some people. And it is also why one of the prayers that we're praying is that we will have no guile in us, we will have no manipulation in us in trying to achieve congruence, harmony in your life. You will not have manipulative spirit trying to best the other person. You're just like, I'm just here to grow myself. I'm not trying to reduce you, you know? Aha, exactly. Look at that. What I want us to learn from here is the principle of mirroring. The principle of mirroring. This one is big. How many of us told ourselves when you were growing up, you saw how your mommy was doing, and you told yourself, I will not be like this woman when I grow up. I love her, but I'm not going to be like her when I grow up. But then you now find yourself doing some of the things that your mom used to do. That's the concept of mirroring, that we become what we look at, no matter how much we despise that thing. Some men, especially, they hated their father growing up because of the way he treated their mother. Fast forward to now, they are treating their wives the same way because that's all they knew. That's all that was mirrored to them. And especially because guys don't even want to be coached most of the time. They don't want to look like they don't have it together. So when you say, oh, there's a coaching session or there's a personal development thing, they're not interested. They're like, I need to go and make money. I beg, I don't have time for all these things. But Oga, you are mirroring what you saw your father do to your mom. Can you come and learn how to, unlearn what you learned in your family house while growing up and learn a different thing? So for some of them, that's where the problem is coming from. Now it is left to you to say, how can I put a different image in front of this guy, especially if the issues that we have are not threatening the marriage in terms of maybe, okay, maybe we should divorce, everybody should go on their own. That's threatening the marriage. But if the issue is that I know he loves me, but he just finds it difficult to express himself, how can I convince him that we should read a book together, even if it's one page a day, even if it's one chapter a day? How can I convince him that we should watch videos of, videos that speak to where we are at, whether they're personal development videos or even movies that speak to where we're at, where we can actually have talking points and say, ṣo mọ̀ pé bó ṣe máa ń ṣe nìyẹn ṣá?" When, aha, exactly, exactly, exactly. Thank you, Adele, for confirming that. And when we see that, the first thing, you start praying about it. The second thing, you find the most non-confrontational way to make him see that you are replicating your father's pattern, and you have to submit to being coached in order to stop this pattern. Because if we're not careful, you are now displaying it before our children, and they will do the same in their own houses when they grow up. This is what we call what's it called? Village people. This is what we call village people. This is what we call familiar spirit. Things that are passed down from generation to generation to generation. And then everybody starts saying, that's how they are in their family. Oh, don't marry them in that family. Oh, generational patterns. Thank you, Tosin. But that if one person in the generation arises and says, not anymore, then it can actually be broken. And so far, what we have been taught is that if I start praying and I start fasting about this thing, then it will stop. That's what we have been taught. So many of us have prayed and prayed. You are tired of praying. Many of us have fasted. You have lost so much weight, but you don't see anything changing. And that's why I have this last line in this particular slide. You cannot change somebody's son. It's only God. Only Jesus can save. It's only God that can change somebody's son. No. Nobody has the capacity to change another person. Is that not why, even though he has been trying to change you since, you say, instead of me to change, I will become depressed. Me, you change me, lie. It's the same way for them. You want to, instead of them to change, they will label you as you are nagging wife. You are disobedient wife. And this is almost everybody's husband, where they say, what is coaching? I'll go and spend money. I'll go and give somebody money. But you are replicating patterns, okay? And so this is why last week when I was saying, look, guys, we're going to have to start learning how to have logical conversation with our husbands rather than emotional confrontation. And we're saying, look, you should have conversations that you're not even crying, but you're saying, no, wait, let's trace it. Let's trace this behavior. This particular behavior you just behaved. Can we trace it? Can we trace where it's from? Fine, I know that I burnt dinner, but did you have to not eat at home for 3 days? Let's trace, where is this coming from? There's a part of you that thinks that you punish me when you don't eat my food. When you don't even know me, you don't even know that I don't enjoy cooking. So if you don't eat for 3 days, God, pay me now. Even though I'm sorry, but let's trace it. Let's trace it. Is it that your father didn't eat at home to punish your mom? Did he have 2 wives so that if he doesn't want your mommy's food, he can eat the other wife's food? And then the mom feels spited? Where is this behavior from? Fine. Let's even get him to agree that it's true, I'm doing this thing. Then where did you pick it up from? Then can we fine, even if you don't want to go to a coach, there are books that coaches have written. There are courses that they've created. You don't even have to meet them one-on-one. We'll buy it, we'll listen to it together. Me too, I'm ready to change. I will take my own sub, you take your own sub. We cannot even go into polygamy today, money. I'm telling you. I take my sub, you take your own sub. So let's buy this together. Let's sit with it. When they say something that you think applies to me, pause it. Say, let's talk about that one. That's you right there. And I will admit and say, okay, fine, I burnt dinner because I got carried away watching Netflix. I need to do better. I will reduce my Netflix hours to 4 hours, to 3 hours. You know, you know. So can we choose to grow together? Can we step into his shoes to understand what his pain points are and where he's coming from? The thing that is making him behave the way that it looks irrational to us. And that if we trace it, then we can see that again, he is not the enemy. It's because of the way he was brought up. But that is not an excuse for saying he can behave like that forever and ever. So, but that it means that if I can understand where it's coming from, when I'm having that conversation of, you have to do better, I'm not happy, you are not happy, what are we doing? I'm able to trace it for him and say, I know that I'm not perfect, but I think that because of this that you picked up from your parents, you are acting it out towards me. And if he says, how? Tell me how. I'm able to give example A, B, C, D, and say, like the other day when we went we went out with friends, you were talking down on me in their presence. The other time, this in the presence of the children, the other time that. What do I need to do that you will not talk down on me again? And sometimes you know what to do, and that's why some people are saying here, I started learning handiwork. I went to get a job. I went to do this. I went to do that. Because when you level up by yourself, his perception of you will change. His perception of you will change. So let's walk a mile in somebody's son's shoes. How did he get to where he is? Many people are saying their husband feels like he knows everything and there's nothing to gain from training, from coaching. Honestly, in this kind of situation, I want to believe that's what we're saying, same here too, right? In this kind of situation, don't argue with him, but you start using what you are learning from coaching for your own life. If you are making $1,000 before, then you get a coach, then you are making $100,000. Is that not proof enough to him that coaching works and training works? No problem. It's because we first want to change our husband before we change. That's why sometimes we're in this place where we're like, he doesn't believe it, he doesn't believe it. Fine, let me use it for myself now. If I use it for myself, even him, he will now start saying, Yahoo me to change you. My wife, you have changed you have changed a lot. Tell us the secret now. At that point, you say, you need to meet my coach. Yeah. Someone says my husband talks down on me. I mean, when I'm in presence of his family members and friends, even anyone that cares to listen and feels he knows everything. We talked about this last week, Mercy, and I'm praying that the what this has caused in your mind will shift. It will shift. You will see your answers. One person out of millions and millions of people in the universe is talking down on you. But the person who created you is not talking down on you. Everybody has to have a dial button. You have to have a reduce volume button for your husband, especially if he talks down on you. When he starts, you reduce the volume. But you don't stop there. You now boldly face the world and prove that you have value. When you do that, even when he sees complete strangers and is trying to talk down on you, the stranger will now look at you and say, are you not Mercy? I know you. I read your book. In fact, I recommended your book to 100 people. Now, who is going to look like they don't know what they're talking about? He's the one. And it's not because you want him to look like he doesn't know what he's talking about, but you are like, I'm done playing the victim. I don't want to be the victim anymore. So even though I'm not trying to make you the victim, but let the seat of victim be vacant rather than me being the one sitting there. What do you derive from talking down on me? Again, stand in his own shoes. Stand in his own shoes. What do you think he derives in talking down on you? Could it be possible that there were things that he wished he achieved that he didn't achieve, and so he's projecting his complex? He's projecting this complex on you. Could it be the case, or could it be the case that he expected you to be a type of woman that you are not, and it's messing up his you know plans, and so he's angry at you and is talking down on you? What exactly? Why does he do it? It is why, and this is where the women who are breadwinners in the room will identify with me. It is why, even though you are the breadwinner in some cases, you're bringing home money, but you are saying to yourself, he should be grateful. This guy should be grateful. I don't lord it over him, even though I'm the one bringing him money. I don't prove a point. But the guy is still angry, still cranky, because he feels like he's the man of the house. He should be the one bringing money home. And some people will be saying, how to for real, like your wife is using your glory. But you're like, I'm working hard morning, afternoon, night, so that at least we can have something on the table. So when that guy starts being cranky, guess what? You know where it's coming from. You know it is because he perceives himself as a failure. To an extent, the world, he's afraid that the world would perceive him as a failure. And so he needs to talk down on you. He feels like he needs to talk down on you so that he can feel like a man. Now, the question of whether you want to stand up to him or to take that is another question entirely. But that let's take a minute and understand where these guys are coming from, the hurts that they've endured, the things that have shaped them into who they are, and to say, let's even say this guy is going to change. What are the things that they will need? And to itemize it and write it down, because you will get an opportunity one day to actually be able to voice your opinion. And it is at that point you can suggest. You won't even say, guy, I think you have inferiority complex. I think you have anger management issues. I think you have, you just mentioned a couple of things and you say, I think you need help. No, you will just even be wise about it and say, I know that we're both trying to work hard at this relationship. I did say you're writing on my screen. You say, I know that we're both trying to work on this relationship. Can we see someone? I feel like some of the issues that we're grappling with include anger management issues. This, that. You will now say it as though it's the two of us that need it. Because when we start listening to the coaching session anyway, or we sit down with that coach to talk through things, he will learn a thing or two, and you will learn a thing or two as well. All right? All right? Because the fact is even that uh, female children actually mature faster than male in terms of, just that presence of mind and just a sense of responsibility. Because when Bobo was still playing football, you were already helping out in the kitchen. You were already backing your younger sister. Even if sometimes there's no younger sister, is a doll baby they will give you to back. So actually, if you see a man and a woman same age, she's probably more matured and has a higher sense of responsibility. But society tells him you are the man, so he has to bone, he has to shut down his emotion and pretend like I've got it, but he's got nothing. So how do you appeal to that part of your husband that is able to let down his shield in your presence? Where, Oga, you can form to the whole world like I've got it. But when you come into this room and it's you and I want to be the one that you're like, babe, I'm afraid. Babe, I don't know what to do. And it doesn't start in a day, but that if we start to expose both of us to information that can help him know that you don't have to be strong all the time. Oga, don't kill yourself. There was a generation before us that, if you notice, They are frustrated. They were frustrated in marriage. And what happened was that the men started dying first. They were the ones having hypertension, high blood pressure, then they would die. Then the woman will now, is then that she, it's not like she killed him, oh, but her beauty will now come out. She's not able to sit back and enjoy her labor over her children. It's because they didn't connect. They didn't connect. Maybe he was keeping late nights, working hard, and she wasn't providing that succor, that place of refuge where he can come home and she can say, rest, rest today. Maybe even for him too, he was too like a strong headed. Oga, rest now. You know, one rest. No problem now. We can't force you to rest now. You know? So there are different dynamics. But that if my marriage is something that I really want to work, and I know that the issues that we have, they're communication issues majorly and personality issues. And we're actually in a place where we both want it to work. That there are some of these things that we can start to talk about, and some of these things that we can actually have a coach come in and talk to us about, or we can read a book about, or watch a personal development thingy about, that we will actually move from where we are stuck at to the next level of intimacy and friendship and supporting each other. That if I level up to a point, for some people, I can actually come in as an equal partner in this marriage. And just know first that is going to first rebel against the idea. Because in marriage, they're submissive, quiet. Does if you put water in her mouth, you will find it there in 1 year's time. And then suddenly, this is why when it doesn't want it to work. So that's another thing, and we're going to talk about that. This his wife now has an opinion. She now wants to be making money, which means that she will be part of decision making in the house. Part of decision making in the house. So it will first rebel against the idea, but you keep trying to work on yourself, develop yourself, growing yourself, such that at some point, whether he likes it or not, the light on you will shine and it will dispel darkness. That's how it works. That's how it works. So you cannot give up on shining your light because somebody's son says there's no light inside you. So already putting that those two words in the same sentence, this man and his mother, already tells us that his mom has a firm grip on him. His mom has a firm grip on him. So what do we do? What do we do? You keep developing yourself, you keep working on your own self, you keep building, you keep building. You build your personal brand, you build your business if it's a business, you build your career if it's a career. Fine. Eh, it's like it's like the table inside the house. You people say I should not sit on a chair, I should sit on a stool. You don't think we're equal partners. No problem. I go outside to career world and I create a chair for myself at the table. In fact, I build an entire table and invite other people to sit with me. So you can keep your partnership in the house. Let me go out and be equal partners with people who want to be partners with me. And it's not because I'm rebelling, it's because I know I carry something and I want to express it. So let me express it. And guess what? For some women, and this has worked for many women, maybe who are a bit older than us again, who, when they are at work, they are a different person. When they get home, they are this very quiet, mousy type. But they get to work, they're making things happen. Now, I'm not saying you should be two different people, but start with putting your effort in what makes you happy. Start with discovering what makes you happy. All right, I'm going to go through our chart again, and then we'll take our last slide, and then we are out of here. So, what does one do when it doesn't want it to work? So, what you're asking in essence is, what do you know? We talked about it last week. What do we have? We don't have anything. Then you go back to what do I have? If he doesn't want the marriage to work, does it mean that I don't want the marriage to work? Yes or no? Either way, If the marriage works or the marriage does not work, does it mean I don't want my life to work? No. So while he is still deciding whether he wants the marriage to work or not, I start making my life work. But the other question is that why does he not want it to work? Have you had that conversation? Because if you've not had that conversation of why does he not want it to work, then we're just going to be conjecturing and to be saying maybe, maybe. But if, okay, the reason why he doesn't want it to work is your fault, then we're now going to say, how do we build you so that he can have faith in the marriage again? But if it's his fault or there's somebody else outside, then we can start having the conversation of, can you focus on building yourself? Can you focus on growing yourself? Because you don't want it to be a lose lose situation where one loses the marriage and yet one loses oneself. All right? So you tell them the only thing I ask is mutual respect. I love it. I love it. Respect me. Let me respect you. I'm not asking that by force we'll be partners. You should know that we're supposed to be partners. But if you don't want partnership, no problem. And if you check, even the mother that is encouraging him, she was not also given an opportunity to be equal partners. So they are perpetuating and replicating generational patterns again. But that you can say, I'm not going to take this lying down. I'm going to arise and I'm going to shine. When I become the managing director of so and so, or I become the country partner of so and so, you tell me if we're equal partners or not. The funny thing is that they may still not believe you're equal partners, even when you are making like times 100 of Oga's income. But again, because you are doing it first for yourself, you're like, I'm doing this for myself. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled in life. That's what matters first. Hmm. I know. Listen, maybe next week you will mute and talk to us. Many people have many things to say. Your hearts are heavy. Some of us wish we could turn back the hands of time, but this is where we have found ourselves. This is where we have found ourselves. I'm here because I took this decision. If I'm going to see a different outcome, it has to be because of me too. It has to be because I took a different decision. All right? I took a different decision. Hmm. One more comment I'll read and then we'll take a last slide. When I accomplish all these things for myself outside support and intimacy with Him, if He later begins to see things differently and wants to start doing the right things, the intimacy is already broken. We could as well be friends that get along well or business partners that work well together. Restoring intimacy will then be a challenge. That is a mindset. You first work on yourself. Have you not seen or heard of people where the husband will say, there's nothing to you, you are not, there's nothing. The next thing, the lady becomes everything, and then he's saying, that's my wife. That's my wife. Except if we want to stop believing the Bible. The Word of God says that her husband rises up to call her blessed. Her children too, they praise her. So you must believe that it is possible and it is going to happen. Bukumi, please help paste the link to Telegram group for Chine so that she can join. Okay, okay. Norma, have you checked seller? Have you checked your seller for the link to healing for soul wounds? Finally, and we've talked about this, so I'm just going to gloss over it. What do you want? What do you want in life? What do you want in marriage? It's like somebody was saying, I don't even know what makes me happy again. Is most likely that person you also don't know what you want again. You also don't know what you want in life again. And it is because it's been so long since you cared for yourself that you don't know how to care for yourself again. This garden that is your life, you have planted, maybe let's say it is 100 square foot. You planted 80% of that with what your husband needs to eat. You plant another 20% for your children or 15% for your children. And then you plant another 5% for other people. There's not even 1% that you left for yourself. And we're saying first of all, uh, start removing the reduce the 80%. First, even reduce it by 20%. Plant 20% of what you like to eat in your garden. Start with that. Then you plant 30%. You start reclaiming the areas of your life where you have submitted your power until the power is actually able to be used well. If you see someone that wants to use your power for you, you can give them some of it now. It is why some marriages work, where the lady is submissive, but the husband does not abuse the submission. He honors her, he respects her, he wants the best for her. So it's working. But it is in these situations when it is lopsided that we're saying, okay, I will hold on to this power until you learn how to use it for me. Because it's my power anyway. You have your own power, I have my own power. I gave my own to you. You did not give your own to me. So give me my own back first. Then I will come back and have this conversation when you are ready to have that conversation again. You know? So are we together? So the first question to you today again is, what do you want? What do you want in life? What do you want in marriage? What do you want generally? What do you want? Do you want to be this renowned businesswoman that everybody knows about? Do you want to become an influencer? Do you want to become a power woman? What do you want? Do you want to become a home a full-time mom that your children are well brought up, they are the best? Do you want to have a side hustle? What do you want? Let's even say that your husband changes overnight and he says, I want to make you happy now. What do you want? Are you able to verbalize, to give an answer to that? That's where we have to start from. What do you want? Sit with this question every day for the next 1 week. What do I want? What do I want? What do I really want? What do I really want? Because even in asking God, the Bible says that we should ask and it shall be given. If I don't know what I want, what will I ask for? Some of us, when they say, what do you want? You now start saying, I don't know what I want, but I just know that I don't want. You don't want. I don't want. You know all of the things you don't want, but you don't know what you want. Let me tell you why that is dangerous. It is because the brain, the way the brain works, the brain does not understand negative and positives. This one, you should pay me for it. This one will change everything for you. Your brain does not have the capacity to understand negatives and positives. It just understands the word that you give it. So if somebody says, I don't want a yellow car. If they go out of their house that day, which color of cars will they be noticing on the road the most? Yellow, right? That's how the brain works. You'll be noticing yellow color, yellow car, yellow Jeep, yellow Picanto, yellow small car, yellow big car, yellow truck. Because the brain just hears the word yellow. That is why you have to focus more of your attention on what you want as against what you don't want. Because when you say, I don't want, your brain just hears that thing and it starts bringing it your way. How many times have you entered your car to drive to work? You remember switching on the car, but the journey till you get to work and you are switching it off, it was subconscious. You don't even remember it. If they say, which cars did you meet on the road? You can't really say. because your subconscious mind took over and drove you to the office. Your mind was elsewhere. Your body was in the car. You drove yourself, but you didn't really drive yourself. We all have subconscious minds that are leading us to places. And I discussed this extensively in my fitness course. There's a fitness course that you'll find on my seller page. I discussed this extensively and how it affects your weight gain and your weight loss. Some of us are overindulging in food. You are using food for comfort because of what you're going through at home. It's time to stop. Maybe you need to go and buy my fitness course and listen to it to teach you the mindset of fitness, why you are overeating, how you are overeating, and how to stop yourself and reprogram yourself. So when you say, what do you want? Then you say, what do I need? I need to be self sufficient. I need to make my own money. I need to have my own voice. I need to find my own voice. I need to find my happiness. I need to find my own people, a group of people that love me and I love them and we grow together. What do you need? I want you to also battle with this question all week. Every week, start a journal based on this course. Every week, write on the beginning of a page, what do I want? Write, what do I need? And start answering. Start answering. No matter how small it is, no matter how huge it is, write it down. Then we are going to come back later and say, how do you achieve it and all of that. But first, I need you to start saying, what do I want and what do I need? And that is because there is huge power in you. You carry great power that you don't even know about. Look at this picture that I put here. That's why I put that picture there for you. That lady potentially has those muscles, but in reality, she doesn't have it yet. But muscles are built in the gym. They are built exercising daily, carrying weights that are bigger than us. You keep building, you keep building, you keep building. One day you are strong, stronger than you've ever been. And that's why we're going to employ your faculty, your brain, your mind, every part of you in this course to help you to unlearn helplessness. Mercy, I love the question. How does one redirect the brain to reactivate after a long time of emotional trauma and pain? That's where we are now. That's why you've joined the class. Just even realizing that I need to redirect my brain, that is a plus. That you are in class and now you have realized that you have to redirect the brain. That is a plus. Now you go into all of these materials that are provided. You go back to this recording, you listen to it again and again. That's how you redirect. That's how you redirect the brain. You go back, you listen again and again, you brainwash yourself into what helps you grow. Into what helps you grow. You go into the Word of God, you pick out, this is who I'm going to be based on what the Lord has said about me. You reframe your life a step at a time, a brick at a time, a word at a time, a lesson at a time. It's also why we're looking at day by day with James Allen. It's why we're looking at all of those things as a man thinketh in his heart. So is he. Is why we are now. I'm forcing you to pay attention to how you think, so that you can say, I've thought about this. I've thought like this for so long. It's time to think differently. And in thinking differently, this is how I'm now going to think. Yeah. And that's where I'm going to stop today. The other slides are reminders. Your life is a garden, you are the gardener. A man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be a creature of outside conditions. Circumstances will give you bulubala as long as you believe that it is external circumstances that shape who you are. But the moment you know that the internal circumstances are more important than the external circumstances, you can start reshaping, and then the circumstances will not change you again. How many times have we seen two people go through the same experience, but it makes one person stronger while it makes the other person give up on life? So how can we say it is circumstances that shapes people? It is not circumstances, it is how we react to circumstances. That's what shapes us. That's what shapes who we become. All right. And it says, do not dwell upon the sins and mistakes of yesterday so exclusively that you have no energy and mind left for rightly living today. Do not think that the sins of yesterday can prevent you from living purely today. Don't think that any mistake you have made in the past is able to stop you from shining in the future. That you can say enough is enough. From this point, I draw a line. Whatever is in the past, let it stay there. Let me recarve a beautiful future, a beautiful today for myself, because the pencil is in my hands, the canvas. I can clean it off and start blank and start drawing a thing that I'm proud of. All right? Suffering is always the effect of wrong thought in some direction, a thought in a direction. I'm suffering because I thought a certain way. I'm suffering like this because I thought a certain way, because I aligned myself with a certain way of thinking. And that if I'm going to think differently, then I'm going to have to if I'm going to act differently and see a different result, then I'm going to have to think differently. And of course, you have your homework. Read Day by Day with James Allen every day. I'm reducing it from 12 lessons to maybe 4 lessons. Do even 2 lessons, but do it every day. We need it. Take your daily confessions from Healing Soul Wounds by DDK and share your learnings on the Telegram group. When we're putting up this particular recording, we will be putting up additional resources that you can use to study alongside. Please look at all of them, study with them, and let them help you. Let them help you change. Let them help you be a better person. All right? And on that note, we come to the end of class today. Do I have questions in the room? Do I have questions in the room before we go? Or if it's not a question, I want you to write for me, what is the one thing that you're going to be doing this week based on what we've learned today? What is that one thing that you're going to be doing differently based on what we've learned today? What are you committing to based on what we've done today? Talk to me in the chat group for the next 2 minutes, and then I'll release you to go and have a lovely, lovely evening. Yep. In your chat. Thank you, LT. I'll pay more attention to myself. I will define what I want. Do a photo shoot. Enjoy yourself. Rebrand yourself within and without. Misty says to change my thinking pattern for a better, improved me. I love it. I love it. I will work on answering the question of what I want. I love that. I'll start doing things for myself. Yes, yes. I'll not wait for anybody to make me happy. I'll start finding my happiness. Start with my appearance. I love that. I can now understand deeper that I'm the most important person in the equation. So I will work to exactly. Thank you, Adele. Ask myself daily what I want. So good. Thank you so much, everyone. I love you. I carry you in my heart. In fact, from 2 days to the beginning of this particular class, I started to feel the emotions that some of you are feeling. I started to actually feel the heaviness that is in some of your minds, and I had to take out time to pray in tongues over you. Honestly, I feel you. Oh, goodness. I'm going to, if you just wait back on the call, Chineye, I'm going to post the link for you right here, but I have to go and bring it. So thank you, everyone. I pray for you every day. I ask God about you and I tell Him what I want for you. And I listen to Him on what He wants for you. And I bring it to class for you. I look forward to us praying together. Sometime between this week and the next class, we have to pray together. If we don't, then our next class, I'm going to pre record it so that we can spend that time gisting and praying. And then you can go back and watch the Module 3 actually. I love you. Good night. If you're also looking for the Telegram link, you can stay back. But I'm going to go Google it and find it for Chine now. Love you all. Good night. Okay, I found it. Oh, and I would like your feedback. Please, everyone, even if you type it on Telegram, I would like your feedback as we go through the classes. It will help us get more women in the room. There's a number that I'm working on with God. So the more women, the merrier. Let's liberate all of us. Let's soar. Let's rise. Let's be great together. Nah, you have the link now. Awesome. Good night, ladies. Hugs. Bisu, bisu.